And we are back again for another topic from the midterms. And this video is gonna talk about topics from the Torrentera module and Philippine History Sourcebook. The first topic is the Act of Declaration of the Philippine Independence. I use the microscoping mode of reflection. Start. We have been in the hands of other countries and fought for our freedom. This is the Act of Declaration of the Philippine Independence was opened to the public on June 12 of 1898 during the Spanish-American War. Filipino rebels led by Emilio Aguinaldo proclaimed the independence after 300 years of Spanish rule. Even for now, and how many years, I can feel the happiness that our ancestors, when the independence of our motherland was declared. The Declaration of Independence was proclaimed by Aguinaldo in his home at Cavite El Viejo with Ambrosio Gonzales Bautista, who also wrote the said letter, and United States as the witness. The declaration began with the recall of the abuses with civil rights or civil guards which are left unpunished, and the unjust deportations of illustrious Filipino ordered by General Blanco and as requested by the Archbishop and friars to keep them ignorant. The declaration tells how and what will be the changes that the country will face, and the country will have the full power as one free country. The declaration was successful, and our country that has been colonized for how many years is free from all sacrifices and sufferings that our people encountered during the wars. The declaration was the most precious thing we cherish as the people of this country. I have learned how our people suffered because of the war and finally free from the terror of war. The next one is the 1899 Constitution of the Republic of the Philippines, Malolos Convention. The Constitution placed limitations on unsupervised freedom to action by the chief executive, which would have hampered rapid decision making. As it was created during the fight for the Philippine independence from Spain, the Constitution specifically provided for safeguards against abuses and enumerated the national and individual rights in its 101 articles. In 1989, the Malolos Constitution, the Philippine Constitution, the first Republican Constitution in Asia, was drafted and adopted by the First Philippine Republic, and which lasted from 1899 to 1901. It provides that we should establish a government which shall conserve and develop our patrimony, and our patrimony includes our public forests, mangrove, wildlife, and flora and fauna, which should be conserved, protected, and renewed. In its second article, it is said that the Philippine Republic is free and independent. This is to tell everyone that the Republic of the Philippines is free and independent, and just like other neighboring countries, it established a democratic republication government with three branches: the executive, legislative, and the judicial branches. However, Malolos Republic did not last long. It ended with the capture and surrender of Aguinaldo to the American forces on March 23, 1901 in Palanan, Isabela, which effectively dissolved the First Republic. In the 1899 Constitution of the Republic of the Philippines, the Malolos Convention, or also known as the Malolos Institution, was this paved the way to launching the First Philippine Republic and establish a democratic republican government. This next topic is the Treaty of Peace, U.S. and Kingdom of Spain. This is a treaty which the U.S. and the Kingdom of Spain signed in Paris on December 10, 1898. This treaty was an important diplomatic success for the United States, and it resolved territorial disputes between the two countries and granted American ships the right to free navigation of the Mississippi River, as well as the duty-free transport through the port of New Orleans, then under the Spanish control. Commissioners from the United States and Spain met in Paris on October 1, 1898 to produce a treaty that would bring an end to the war, and after 6 months of hostilities, this treaty consists of 17 articles that holds different agreements for the US and the Kingdom of Spain, and the Treaty of Paris ended the Spanish-American War and forced Spain to cede the Philippines. Guam, and Puerto Rico to the United States. Stated in the second article, and in the first article, if that all power of Spain over Cuba is relinquished and hand over to the United States. And in the following articles are agreements and negotiations that the two nations need to fulfill for the treaty to be formed. And the Treaty of Paris ended the Revolutionary War between Great Britain and the United States, recognized American independence and established borders for the new nation. This treaty is intended to end the war and bring alliance to the US and the Kingdom of Spain. Because of this treaty, the Kingdom of Spain recognizes the United States as an independent country, and the result of the said treaty is set the boundaries between British Empire in the north and in the North America and the United States of America. On the lines exceedingly generous to latter, and details included fishing rights and restoration of the property and prisoners of war. This topic is about the Rizal's retraction controversy. Apart from history becoming more interesting as everyone starts to take into consideration of all the truths, facts, and even with the conceptions of Rizal's retraction, it is still debatable clause whether Rizal's retraction is never a symbol or heroism but an act of bravery and moral cause. Since the start of the war of the Philippine Revolution, Rizal was one of the people who acted upon a less violent approach, which is through writing his own understanding and his stand against the Spaniards. Over the time, 3 writings and even his finest works of Masonry was his leap of faith towards the ending of the Spanish rule, making him in danger for execution. He did not have any strength or cowardness in his time, but rather he continued to pursue this dream of his for Philippine freedom. When Dr. Rizal was arrested and sentenced to death by the Spanish court martial after being implicated as the leader of the Philippine Revolution, 2 priests, Father Balaguer and Father Villacarara, visited Rizal's prison and discussed some articles regarding the Catholic faith. They argued on the primacy of faith over reason and the theological differences that separated Catholics and Protestants. They informed him that they could not provide the sacraments he required until he signed a retraction letter and professed his religion. Following many hours to persuasion by Jesus priests, Rizal purportedly withdrew his Masonic principles and reconverted to Catholicism on December 30, in 1896. Rizal signed a letter saying that he was a Catholic and withdrew all of his writings against the church, and a few hours before he was shot. And a document was dubbed the retraction. To summarize it all, whether or not Rizal withdrew, the researchers feel that the retraction paper was more of Rizal showing moral bravery and admitting his faults. Perhaps he withdrew and returned to his faith, but this does not reduce Rizal's standing as a great hero of such magnitude. This topic is about the convention between the US and the Great Britain. This convention between the United States and the Great Britain, an exchange of notes regarding the boundary between the Philippine archipelago and the state of North Borneo. And this was signed on January 2, 1930. And it is also called the Treaty of 1930 that consists of 5 articles. It is a treaty where the United States and the Great Britain talk about our country's boundary. The convention between the United States and Great Britain in 1930 was an agreement between governments, the United Kingdom and the United States, to definitely delimit the boundary between North Borneo, then a British protectorate, and the Philippine archipelago, a US territory. In the first article, it stated the precise location of boundaries of 2 lands represented by latitude and where it stands and its limitations. This convention has been the most important convention for the United States and Great Britain. Not only they are managing their territories, but this is also a convention for peace. The convention is to delineate territories of the archipelago and the North Borneo, and ended successfully and signed by the President of the United States with His Majesty, that closed one of the most important conventions involving our country. After reading this topic, I have learned that and understood that in that era where our country seeks freedom and independence, it has been a great challenge. This convention is solely for separation and delineate the islands of our country, which is the territory of the United States, from the territories of Great Britain, the North Korea. And let's move on to the topics from the Philippine History Source Book. And the first topic we'll talk about is the Philippine-American War, account of Private William Grayson. This topic is a self-claimed account of Private William Grayson on what happened on the night of February 4, 1899 on a bridge in San Juan del Monte near Manila. And this incident is basically the one that started the Philippine-American War. His account started with about 8 o'clock. Me and Miller were cautiously pacing our district, and we came to a fence, and we were trying to see what Filipinos were up to. That is what Private Grayson said. And after a few moments, he said, in a moment something rose slowly up in 25 meters in front of us, and it was a Filipino. And that what started the fear of Private William Grayson, and eventually shotted the Filipino soldier for not responding for his halt. And with the first shot, it alerted another 2 Filipino soldiers, and the first soldier was shot by the other American soldier named Miller, and the other one was the second shot of Private Grayson. With that incident, Philippine-American War broke. And the Philippines was already suspicious about the true motives of the Americans. And with this incident, the suspicions of our people has been filled. Everything can happen in front of me. And that's the lesson I learned after reading this account of Private William Grayson. And this just shows how they're planning on something, easily jumping into conclusions, and can make a great impact, and something big may happen. For the suspicions of our people that the Americans is plotting something, it has been clearly confirmed after this incident. This just tells us that don't trust easily. Anything can happen because of trusting the wrong person. Next one is also from the Philippine History Source Book, which is the topic American Period. President William McKinley's period. This topic is more of a decision making of President William McKinley of what to do with our country, the Philippines. In President McKinley's word, he is not sure, and he did not know what to do with our country. And he did not even want the Philippines in the first place. And this was his words that made our history. President McKinley said, I have been criticized a good deal about the Philippines, but don't deserve it. The truth is, I didn't want the Philippines, and when they came to us, it is a gift from the gods. I did not know what to do with them. And this was the most important thing about this topic, because of having President McKinley having trouble on what to do with our country. He prayed to the Lord God to give him light and guidance. And it happened one late night on the White House. President McKinley came up with an idea that made the Philippines what it is now. He said that there was nothing left for us to do but to take them on, and to educate the Filipinos, and uplift, and civilize, and Christianize them, and by the God's grace, do the very best we could teach them. And as our fellow men, for whom Christ also died. These are the very words that President McKinley said on that night. He will teach and Christianize us, our country, to be able to manage and grow. This has been his decision, because he said they were unfit for self-government, and they would soon have an anarchy and misrule over worse than Spain was. And for me, we could compare President McKinley's mindset to our teachers and instructors. They give their all just to teach us, because we're just like a rough diamond, and they're harnessing and polishing us to our extent. The United States colonized us, but they are not as brutal as the Spaniards. They colonized us not to be their slaves, but as their apprentice, and they will guide in the future. That is my opinion. And we must do the same. We must help each other for us to grow more. We don't need to drag down people for our own good, but help them grow more and be successful together. This next topic is about the Commonwealth of the Philippines, the 1953 Constitution. This topic is about the 1953 Constitution, official gazette of the Republic of the Philippines, where this helps the Philippine Constitution to prepare, and it is a 10-year transition government before the United States grant the Philippines its total independence. And it has some important characteristics. Unicameral legislature through the National Assembly, 6-year term of the President and Vice President without re-election, 3 Bill of Rights that protect the citizens, and lastly, rights of suffrage by male citizens, which shall be extended to women 2 years after the adoption of this Constitution. The first one is the numerical legislature, which this tells us that every island that is ceded or all surrendered to the United States from the Kingdom of Spain, Philippines has the jurisdiction with the set limits under the Article 3 of the Treaty of Paris, which indicates Spain cedes to the United States and the upper archipelago known as the Philippine Islands and comprehending the islands. Being said that every island that it is within the range of the treaty is now the jurisdiction of the Philippines. The second one is the 6-year term President and Vice President without re-elections. For the Philippines, being republic, the people have the power to elect their desired President and Vice President. The third is the Bill of Rights that protects the citizens with the most important section. Under the Bill of Rights is the Section 1. No person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor shall any person be denied the equal protection of the laws. With this, people can have the safety from all corruption. And the last one is the suffrage, which men are given the rights as long as they're qualified, aged 21 years and above, and are able to read and write, and who shall have resided in the Philippines for 1 year in the municipality and soon be extended to women after 2 years, adopting this constitution. With being said, the 4 main characters of the 1950 Constitution is focused on developing the government of our country, as what the President McKinley said, that they will educate us and give their all to make our country able to grow. This topic is also from Philippine History Resource Book, and this topic is the World War II 1943 Constitution. The topic talks about how the Japanese government gave the Philippines its independence and formed a new constitution of our government to pursue, and it's now called the Republic of the Philippines. This topic composes of 2 articles, which is Article 1, the Republic of the Philippines, and Article 2, the Executive. And let's talk about the first one. The first article is about the Philippines is a republican state. The government established this constitution shall be known as the Republic of the Philippines, and that is now how we got the government up until now. And the Republic of the Philippines shall exercise sovereignty over all the national territory as at present defined by law, which means that every island that is within the Philippine area of responsibility is our jurisdiction. The second article talks more about the positions and its power. In Article 2, Section 2, tells, as a republic, the president shall be elected by majority of the people. Majority of the people. And in the Section 9, the president shall be commander-in-chief of all armed forces of the Philippines, and whatever it becomes necessary, he may call out such armed forces to prevent and suppress lawlessness, invasion, insurrection, or rebellion. In case of invasion, danger thereof, or when the public safety so requires, he may suspend the privilege or writ of the habeas corpus, or place Philippines or any part thereof under martial law. And this shows us that the Philippines has the power to control military power and manage our safety. All in all, 1940 Constitution is the transformation of our government from the Commonwealth government to the government that we use now. In the time of Japanese whole Philippines, they bring big changes to our country. Of course, they changed our constitution that still exists up until now in the current era. They have helped our country to grow as an independent country. And I have learned that even after they colonized us, they still help our country grow and innovate. In my opinion, that colonization that happened to our country is a way for us to be able to fully act as an independent country. And lastly, this topic is the evolution of the Filipino nationalism, 1909 to 1912. When we say nationalism, it is the unconditional love for our country and identifying ourselves as a part of a certain place by supporting and raising our flag through believing in what country can do. Support, recognize, and to be proud of our ethnicity and culture that represents our country. Philippines, this topic is about the evolution of Filipino nationalism in the year 1909 to 1912 and how it changed over time. What did our people face during that point in time where this country is starting to grow? In the previous two stages of evolving nationalism, the dominant ideas that co-herd with the national idea were assimilation, liberalism, democracy, and imperialism. No attempt was made to create a separate nation. On the contrary, the goal was to achieve Hispanic nationhood. In all three stages, therefore, the type of nationalism that developed differed only in degrees, but not in substance. It was for this reason that we could call this imperial liberal nationalism. Roughly, we could periodize each stage as follows. The first stage, 1909 to 1920. The second is the 1921 to 1980. And the third one is the 1980 to 1896. The fourth and the last stage will be roughly dated from 1896 to the end of the 19th century, circa 1912. And the first stage in 1909, which is the Hispanism, rose. The demands, or it brings equality among the people in Spain and in the Philippines, and the people of the Philippines shall be entitled to the privileges of citizenship, where Filipinos has the right to have citizenship. And the second one was in 1821 to 1880. The Philippinism is born. Secularization of the parishes and introduction of the liberal democratic rights for the people were the anti-friar was also an objective. The third one was on 1880 to 1896, and Creolism was established, where restructuring of the empire into a federal system instead of a unitary system, and if needed to establish a separate independent state administered by the Indos, where a Filipino governor or a Filipino occupying a major post in government and the church. Lastly is the 1896 to 1920 nationalism, where the Katagalugan started. In this time, we have freedom, where building of a new nation which is illiberal. Democratic and ethically virtues based on brotherhood of all Filipinos is the most important thing. To sum up, our country had passed all those stages for us to reach that we have now. Our love for our country has done a great job in making our country stronger and independent. I was born and raised in the Philippines, and throughout the years, I have seen changes in attitudes of practices, culture, and beliefs of the Filipinos. The world is continuously evolving, and the modernization is spreading across the world, and each one of us have a duty and responsibility to fulfill that most of us already forgotten about. And even these changes occur, there are still ways to show respect and love for our country.